and happy Paradise Tuesday. And it's beautiful Tuesday in Paradise. It's Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. Once again, welcome to At the Table with Crucian Educator. And today I am expecting a calling guest. I hope the guest is listening. I think we have time yet for 8:30. And once again, once the guest has presented, you may also join in the conversation and discuss the three prepared questions I have for today's discussion at the table. I always make sure that you have the ability to express your thoughts. Everybody's entitled to an opinion, a theory, a feeling, a belief, perspective, view, and even delusion. But you're not entitled to your own facts. Facts can be verified. And let me say this, I am predicting, this is just my prediction, we're going to have a political storm of a category 10. The upcoming general election will be the first Tuesday in the month of November. Right now, it's up in the air whether we're going to have a primary elections or not. I expect, because I see that there are a lot of gubernatorial candidates, prospective gubernatorial candidates, because nobody has actually officially declared their candidacy. There's still time. But at the agriculture fair, you see that a lot of prospective candidates were out promoting their candidacy unofficially. So we had the wearing of the t-shirts and so forth. It was a beautiful agriculture fair, the 54th agriculture fair. And so we had the fair, this opening Saturday, Valentine's Day, February 14th. We also had it on the Sunday and Monday. Yesterday was the last day of the fair. So I'm hoping anyone interested in calling in, you could ask questions pertaining to fair, give your thought. But I have three questions. I'd like to know if you have any ideas how we can enhance VI pride, enrich Virgin Islands history, and promote our culture and heritage. And in your role as a private citizen or as a public servant or entrepreneur, what are you doing to your part to make all those achievable, enhancing Virgin Islands pride, enriching our Virgin Islands history? What contributions are you making? And what are you doing to promote our culture? And what is our culture? So I'm hoping to hear from the guest, and hope the guest is listening to call in. In the meantime, I want to read to you. I attended a meeting, a public town hall meeting, which was held at Rotary West in Frederiksted, and it pertained to a bill or a proposal from the governor, the Honorable Albert Bryan Jr., to the matter of the distillery, Prosperity Farm Distillery. So I don't have the specifics in front of me. What is the intention of this legislation? But it's something that has been proposed by the governor, and there's some concerns by citizens of the environmental impact. The meeting, the public hearing last night, there were a lot of opinions and feelings expressed, but actual facts and statistics, I think, were missing. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's one of the questions I may ask the guests, the calling guests, about that. But in the meantime, let me read to you an article, Open Up, St. Croix. This was in the Virgin Islands Source, the online newspaper. Open Up, entitled St. Croix's Estate Prosperity has a storied history and is worth a visit today. And this was written by Olasi Davis on February 5th, 2026. Okay, and there's a picture show you in the old days of St. Croix, a riding party, as it was called locally, was common around the island. This is estate prosperity in the 1920s. So there's a photograph there of that building that is existing today, of course, renovated, but the original building is a picture there in 1920s with the local riding party in front of the great house. And the photo is courtesy of the late Eric Lawetz. So I think it's a very interesting read. Go to the Virgin Islands Source and look for this. In August of 2022, a public hearing at the Rotary West Club building in Frederiksted was packed with people, just like last night. The Rotary West building was packed with people. But it seemed like most of the people there were in opposition to the Prosperity Farm distillery being operated at that site. But this one is in reference to a public hearing that took place in August of 2022. And it's saying it was packed, included Robert Apfel, who presented his proposal to build a distillery plant at Estate Prosperity. Believe me, it was a controversial proposal. And it continues to be controversial because some people are opposed to him operating a distillery at that particular location. My understanding, there's a law in place that prohibits the operation of rum distillery and farmland or agricultural land. But anything I say, you can verify to see how factually accurate it is. But there is a meeting, well, not a meeting, a legislative hearing this Thursday, the 19th, that you can attend. It's going to be at the Legislative Building in Golden Grove. I believe it starts at 9. And anyway, like it says here, believe me, it was a controversial proposal. So this bill that's being proposed by the governor is controversial. But if you want to get the facts, I would suggest you attend the legislative hearing. Get the information, get accurate information. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. Continue on to read the article here or this opinion. That evening, Senator Kurt Violet, who sponsored the bill, found himself in hot water with the backlash of the community. I sat there and listened, and then I got up and I testified. After the public hearing, Apfel approached me about his situation. Okay, well, I think this might be the call I'm expecting. Pleasant, good morning.
Hello?
Welcome.
Good morning, yes.
Okay, thank you. We have our calling guest. You could give an introduction and then I will proceed with the interview.
Good morning. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Brodell. My name is Gustav James. I'm a candidate for governor of the Virgin Islands right now. And Brodell, you asked me a couple of questions that you would like me to respond to in our discussion. And so I would like to respond to those questions and have a discussion with you if that's good with you.
That's perfect. And we could talk about something related too, because I don't know if you are aware there was a public town hall meeting at Rotary West in Fredericksburg last night pertaining to
Yes, I'm aware that there was a town hall there. I was not able to attend. I stayed at the fair yesterday and was not able to get to that town hall. I wish they had done it on a different day. But yes, I was aware of that town hall. In fact, it is right here on basically on the same property that I live.
Yes, so, I'm aware. And I know you're a farmer. So it's pertaining, it's all tied in agriculture.
Yes, exactly. So that is great. And how did that go? Well, we can discuss that later. Let's just simply address the things that
okay.
Wanted to talk about at first, because I thought that your questions were very, very appropriate, and it coincides with what I would like the message I would like to give to the people, because one of your questions is what are my top 5 issues in the VI that
yes.
I think need to be addressed by the government.
Yes.
And
how would you how would you describe, it's a 2-part, how would you describe the state of the territory and what do you believe are the 5 most important issues that must be addressed by the Virgin Islands government?
Right. So I really feel like that is almost the same question as to why am I running for governor of the Virgin Islands? Because I feel like there is a need for some change, serious change in the way the Virgin Islands is operating. So I have more than 5 issues, but I'm going to list the first 5
yeah, the
issues.
Top priorities. Yes.
And the first one that I have on my list is that more than 30% of Virgin Islands children live below the poverty line.
Yes.
I think that is very significant, and I think that makes a big difference as to the quality of life in the Virgin Islands.
Thank you for giving those statistics, because that's what I like to deal with. I like facts.
Yes, and that is a fact. More than 30% of our children are existing below the poverty line. Second one I have also involves our youth. On a per capita basis, we have one of the highest murder rates in the entire world. This includes places where there is active insurrections, wars. We have one of the highest murder rates on this planet, right here in the Virgin Islands, on a per capita basis. We only have a population of about 90,000 people. So, it's quite alarming, and it's been that way for many years now, and it needs to change. The third item on my list has to do with you, somewhat in that you were in the education department as well. And we have to deal with the reality, and a lot of people are not. They don't like to rely on test scores, but I like test scores as a measure.
Yes.
I like to know how our children are doing compared to others, and our children are scoring lower on test scores than just about anywhere in the whole United States. And we know the United States does not score well compared to other countries.
Right.
So our children's test scores are some of the lowest in the world, which is, it's totally unacceptable. The fourth item I have on my list is that we pay more for electricity than anywhere in the world, and yet our power is unreliable and often unavailable.
Mm-hmm.
That is really having a terrible impact on our economics here in this territory. And the fifth item, which is where I'm going to stop because we can't continue. I have more items, but I'm going to stop aside. Our government officials are constantly being jailed for fraud and corruption. You're laughing, but that is the truth. I mean, you can't deny that. So everything that I've said is true. The question now is how do we address them? And my point is this: these problems have solutions. We have solutions to these problems, but we have to implement these solutions. We have to make this happen. We cannot simply continue the way we're going and expect that these things are going to solve themselves.
Right.
So basically, those are my top 5 issues, and we can elaborate on each of them, or we can go to your follow-up.
Well, we could come back to those. They are important other issues. They are important other issues because I would think, but they are related. They interrelated because I would definitely on my list. I would definitely put the healthcare system as number one.
Yes, I have that on my list as well.
I would put it as number one. However, it's all related because if your WAPA bill is too high, could cause a stroke. Sometimes I'm afraid to even open the the WAPA bill because I'm like, it might shock me, it might cause a stroke.
Right.
So it's all related,
right.
And the cost to get adequate health care. We have situations where you have lack of sufficient supplies at the hospital. The hospital is being built. I don't know when that's gonna. Like I said, they are related, but so we could revisit getting into the specifics.
Yeah, we have. I had the healthcare as one. I had I have the fact that our economy is also heavily negatively impacted by the fact that our seniors leave the territory because of the healthcare system.
Yes.
So we've lost so much of our good money, and what I call good money is because seniors spend money, but they don't need jobs. So we have people who have an income already flowing in, and they don't need to draw on the jobs market to get that income. They already have an income coming in.
Right.
So that is like new money That's like new money coming into an economy, the retirement income. So when
But
we
that money
lose
is going
that,
out. When you have to fly
yes, yes,
to
yes,
Cleveland Clinic, for those who can afford it.
right, exactly. Those people who have,
Okay.
like for example, the government employees who are retired, their money is very good money. These people get money from the Virgin Islands government and they get money from Social Security. And that money is all, if that money is in our economy, that is all input. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
It's
That is
circulating.
what you would call, yeah, it's new money that comes in and then it gets to recirculate within the economy. But when that money leaves,
Exactly.
that has a very devastating impact on our economy. And right now, more than 50% of the money that is paid out by the GERS is sent off island.
Right. And then those who are, what do you call that, indigent, the uninsured, it's a
Oh yeah,
community
those people, yeah.
hospital. They cost us money because when somebody gets killed or shot, or when they get shot,
Or just yeah,
they
yes,
have to be
we
flown
have to
out.
treat them.
Who pays for that?
Yes, we have to
When?
treat them, and so yeah,
Mhm. Who pays for it?
right.
The
So
government, right?
we have a situation where the good money is leaving, and the what we could call bad money stays. In the sense that we have to take care of the people who are not able to come up with all the money that it costs and all the insurance money, like what the government employees have, and yet, uh, we have to take care of them. To some, they don't get good care like they should, but they get some care at that cost. So
Yeah.
we need to have a system. And when it comes to healthcare, Brazil, I feel like every person is entitled to healthcare. That's how I see it. I don't think that healthcare should at all be tied to your financial situation. I will never
In
be
some
satisfied.
countries, don't they have something like that? Universal insurance, like I believe
Of
Switzerland.
course, of course they do. In most well-developed countries, you have universal health care,
Yeah.
and that is the way it should be in any country. Think about it. Think about back when people lived in simpler societies like tribes. Okay, let's
Hmm.
go back to when people lived in what we call tribes. Everyone in that tribe was have access to the best medical care that that tribe could provide. Even though it might not have been very good medical care, it was the best they could provide, and everyone in the tribe had access to it.
And equal treatment.
And equal treatment within it. Here we are now in this highly developed society, we call highly developed society, where we've got people getting sick and not having access to the healthcare that is available within the society.
Does it
There's
based on
something
your
wrong with that.
poverty level? Based on your poverty
Yes,
level
based on your money. And so
or
there's
your
something
wealth
wrong with
status?
this situation. We are not supposed to be living with among people. We're not supposed to live that way as humans. We're not supposed to allow our neighbors to need medical care and not get it because they don't have money.
We
That
don't
is
have an
wrong. That is
egalitarian society. We have a capitalistic society, and your health care is based on affordability. Not everybody
yeah,
can afford to
based
buy
on your ability to afford
it.
it. Yes.
Exactly. And as I was saying, even if a victim was involved a batch, the victim is a suspect in a batch robbery, got shot,
Mm-hmm.
we taxpayers have to pay to have the person flown out of the territory for treatment. So it's all tied in because of the high homicide rate in the territory. You can elaborate on that one because I am
Yes,
interested in the
yeah.
statistics.
It all comes. Yes, it's all tied together because the lack of proper treatment makes us have to put people on airplanes and pay even more for
Hmm.
them to to get treatment. So what we have going on in the Virgin Islands right now is a series of different failures that result in us. It's almost like a spiral. You know, we don't have good health care, so now we have to put people on airplanes. Putting people on airplanes costs even more than having good health care and doing it here. So what we need to do is solve our health care issue right here. What I'm saying is that we need to provide health care for all the people in this territory, all of the people in this territory, and we need to provide it right here in the territory.
In the territory.
When we do that, we will be on the right track. Right now, what I'm saying is that even an illegal immigrant that walks into our hospital should get proper care. Okay? Because that is human. That is what I consider to be the standard that we are supposed to live up to. Any person walks into our healthcare facility in need of help should get good healthcare.
Well, I agree with that. I'm an advocate for human rights, and all human beings in my book are all are equal and should be treated with the same respect and dignity. Exactly. But going to the statistic now, I've been hearing things thrown out. We did leading in the Caribbean per capita. What statistic you have on that? Our homicide rate. Our homicide rate. Yeah.
No, I don't have all the Caribbean, but I know that the Virgin Islands is, like I said, the highest one. The last time I checked, we were the highest. And even when you compare us to Jamaica and compare us to Trinidad, St. Lucia, these are also places that have high murder rates at this time. We are higher.
Wow.
We are higher because our population is so small. So that number is very high. Even let's take Puerto Rico. Okay, Puerto Rico used to have a very high murder rate, but our rate was still higher than this.
And what you attribute that to?
Well, first of all, let's remember, Puerto Rico has more than 40 times as many people as the Virgin Islands. So
right.
If you have one person murdered in the Virgin Islands, you would have to have 40 murdered in Puerto Rico
right.
to keep the rate equal.
Right.
So in some days in Puerto Rico, like 20 people might be murdered in the same day, but that is still less than having one person murdered in the Virgin Islands.
Right.
So we have a higher rate
per capita. Yes.
Yes, it's per capita, and so that's the situation. And socioeconomic standards things make a big difference. And if you were to take, for example, the murder rate in a certain part of Chicago, if you were to go into Chicago and go into a certain part of the city of Chicago, you may find a section of the city of Chicago that has a higher per capita murder rate than the Virgin Islands. You may. However, if you were to look at the state of Illinois, there's no way you'd be even close to the murder rate per capita of the Virgin Islands. You see what I'm saying?
When you say it's correlated to poverty and educational level?
It's related to those things, very closely related to those things. And so we have to understand that and those things in our small communities, and having 30% of our children living below the poverty line gives you a picture of what's going on here in the Virgin Islands. We have over 30% of our young people growing up in an environment that is subject to more of that type of violence and exposure.
And then the educational level, we mentioned the scores are below when you compare nationwide. Very to the bottom. Are we dead last or what?
Well, the last time I checked, we were last. We were down there. I think it was Alabama and
Mississippi, Louisiana. I know those are areas the South areas were the poor states. Yeah, it's tied in. Poverty level and educational level tied in.
is tied in very closely, and you know it for a fact of being a teacher. You know that you have seen where the children who are performing best are the ones where the parents have the greatest involvement
Of course.
in their children's education. And so you have a lot of cases where we have in this environment that where we have young people having children, but they're not the young people who have the child is not very well educated themselves, and then they have a baby and they're not taking part in that child's education. They're not taking playing an active role in getting that child educated, as you would have in the case where the child is where the parents are highly educated. So you have this recurring cycle of people who are not highly educated having more babies, and we need to intervene. We need to intervene when these children are born. By the time a child is born, it is very important that that child receive the right care. And if that child doesn't receive the right care for those first 3 to 5 years of his life, that child is permanently impacted negatively.
Well, it starts with me from conception, because if the parent, the mother specifically, the father too involved, because I understand alcoholism somehow could do something too with the sperms. We know, I was a biology teacher. I'm a science teacher for life. Okay, we know it's sperm and egg. They come together, collision. You get fertilization. Everything that mother does, that environment, because she's essentially a parasite. She's a host. So whatever you take in
yes,
has an impact.
Whatever she experiences has an impact on that child.
The development of that embryo to fetus stage, and finally to the baby, it's all impacted by, again, healthcare. It all ties in, poverty level, educational level, they all correlate.
It ties into her daily experiences.
Yes.
It ties into her exposure to violence, for example. It ties into her use of substances.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things tie into the creation of this new person that is being formed and that is developing within her. So we, the people, and I mean, it's difficult for us to totally take over the life of a baby of the time it's conceived.
Right.
We at least should get involved from the time the baby is born, because when the baby is born, now it becomes a member of the community. A baby, before the baby is born, it's simply a guest in this woman's body.
Yes.
And when the baby is born, it's now one of us. It's now one of us. And we, as the community, we have the right and the responsibility to ensure that that member of this society is safe and well taken care of. That is our, we have that right and we have that responsibility.
Absolutely.
The law right now, as the law is right now, if you abuse your children, we will take that child from you, right?
And the government will raise the child for you.
Yeah, that is current law. So we're not creating any new standards here. The government has already established that if the person is not going to take proper care of the child, the government will intervene and take the child away from that person.
As they should.
We just need to be more diligent in how we approach that. If we see, for example, if we know that a child is not being well nurtured at the age of 1, we should intervene. There should be a system for us monitoring how children are being treated, how they're living, especially a child who is getting government assistance. So here we have a child born into our community, getting government assistance for housing and food, right? Many of these children that we're talking about who exist below the poverty line, they're getting government assistance for housing and food.
Yes.
So we should be also paying attention to the results that we're getting. What I'm saying is that this woman or this family is getting government assistance for housing and food. What's the condition of these children? Do we know? Do we know if these children are being fed well? Do we know if their children are being cared for properly?
Well, the teachers get to see the symptoms, and they have to be vigilant, because sometimes the child is suffering in silence. They may be sexually, physically, verbally abused at home, and they don't speak because they're going back to the same home. They're afraid.
Yes, of course they are. And so what we have the situation where the teacher in the school system can sometimes intervene. But by the time the child gets into that school system, the child is 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And by the time the child is 5 years old, the child is 90% formed. That means that 90% of the potential damage has already been done.
Right. It's like growing a tree. You plant the seed, it grows. But if you put it by sunlight, it's going to bend. It's going to grow that way. And once it becomes a full
direction, yes,
it's hard. I mean, I'm not a farmer. There's a distinction. I'm a gardener. And in my backyard, I need to cut back on my mango trees because it's causing my avocado tree to grow in one direction. It's bending because of the sun. Yeah, the mango tree is blocking sunlight. So I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's, and like they say, it's hard to teach a old dog new tricks or even old tricks. It's hard to teach them all our new tricks, okay? Because people are set in their minds after they reach a certain age. So I can tell you as a teacher, 33 years of experience teaching various educational level, the most difficult was adults.
Yes, of course, because their brain is already so formed.
They don't mindset.
It's hard for you. It's hard for you to teach them something new. That is quite true. It's true for all of us. So we have to recognize the opposite. And that what you're pointing out is very good. But what you also is within your statement, what you're also pointing out is that while the child is young,
that's where you start. You don't start teaching them a language at when they reach high school. Right. You should be teaching them language from kindergarten. And this is my opinion. I believe everybody in the U.S. Virgin Islands should be bilingual, fluent in English and fluent in Spanish. Okay, so teach them from kindergarten. Don't wait until no, it's too late. They can learn. Their brains are like sponges.
To this day, I regret how limited my Spanish is, because I always feel like I am missing so much in life by not knowing other languages. I feel like the people who know other languages have a richer life than
oh yes, you have an advantage being trilingual, multilingual.
And so
yes,
I regret not knowing more languages. I try my best, I keep trying and trying and trying, but I regret not having learned those things when I was much younger. And so that, I would be fluent in other languages, because in my brain, I have to translate, from English to that other language. And so it makes it difficult to learn the language. Somebody who learns the other languages when they're very young, they don't have to translate in their brain.
Mm-hmm.
Their brain works in both languages.
Exactly.
So they can speak it very easily, either language, and that is where we should that's what we should strive for with our children when it comes to teaching them languages. We should teach them at the youngest possible age. And so back to where we were talking about, a 5-year-old is actually old already when it comes to language.
Yes.
When it comes to language, that child is old at 5. You want a child to learn language, and when they're born, that's when they start learning language, and they're so attentive to language when they're born and when they're in that first year.
Because that's how they learn. They learn like parrots. They repeat. They even when they're babies, they're watching your mouth. They're listening.
Yes.
Even before they actually could articulate, they are learning.
You think they can't articulate because you can't understand what they're saying?
No, they actually articulating. We just ain't understanding. I mean, it's so funny when I see babies talking to each other. I'm like, I wonder what they're saying.
When they start babbling, they do know what they're trying to say.
Yeah, they know what they're saying.
Yeah, so we have to understand that children are so they have such a high ability to absorb things at those first years of their life, and we should take advantage of that. And if we take advantage of those first years of their life, we will be able to produce a much more enlightened society. You know, we will be able to have children who are performing at a much higher level if we simply get to them early enough.
Well, you have a lot of ideas. You have a lot of ideas, and I would like you to place your platform. And I don't know if you know about this Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group entitled Virgin Islands Affairs Forum.
Okay, hold on. Let me. No, I was not aware of it. So you call it the Virgin Islands Affairs Forum?
Yes, I'm the administrator of that group. And not only that, political candidates are welcome to put any political candidate, welcome to put your platform, advertise free businesses, anything relating to the Virgin Islands of the United States, whether it's culture, business, history, politics, as long as it relates to Virgin Islands of the United States. Anyone listening, you are welcome to join Virgin Islands Affairs Forum, and you can have that feedback with others. I post articles there all the time to get feedback and see how people feel. And amazing though, a lot of people who have joined, they're not even from the Virgin Islands. I have people all the way from Africa, Asia, interested in Virgin Islands Affairs.
Very good. Very good. I will look that up and see if we can start putting some of our things on there, because these, like I said, the problems that we listed that were listed in the beginning of our conversation, they have solutions. There are solutions to these problems. And a lot of times, as I've traveled a lot around the world, I've been fortunate in my life in that I've been able to go around the world several times. And as I travel the world, I see places that do certain things better than how we do it. And when I see that, I feel like that is something that we should just simply copy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
For example, if you see that people in Europe get free healthcare.
Yes.
What are we doing?
We could pattern, yeah, we could use that as a template.
Yeah. I had the opportunity to work with some students, some architectural students from Denmark. They came here as a part of a group to try to rehabilitate some of our old Danish structures in the territory. And I met some students, some architectural students that, and they were all studying at 2 universities in Denmark. So a group of some of those students who were studying in Denmark were not from Denmark. They were actually from Norway.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, those students who were from Norway going to school in Denmark, I asked them how they finance their education. They their education was 100%
Yes,
financed by the
that's
country of
right.
Norway. Norway paid for them to go to school wherever they wanted to go to school. They could go to school in Denmark and get the Norway would pay for it. They could go to school in the United States and Norway would pay for it. They have a 100% education provision in their government. They could go to school anywhere and get the government of Norway to pay not only for their schooling, but also for their transportation and housing.
Wouldn't it be nice if the Virgin Islands government could do likewise?
Well, the thing that we have to remember, though, the thing that we have to remember, and let's get to the last question that you had in your question.
Well, you answered you kind of answered the first question. So let me go to the first question because.
No, but let me just flow into the last question that you had, sort of ties to what you just said. The last question you had was relative to our status.
Do you support the creation of a constitution for the U.S. Virgin Islands?
Right. Let me answer that. Let me speak to that by speaking through this education thing that we just discussed.
Okay.
One thing that we have to remember: the United States is our country in the sense that we are part of the United States, even though we are not equal members. We are still
because of our status. Yes.
We are controlled by the United States.
Definitely.
So we're a colony of the United States right now, which is not a good thing, but it's the reality. Now, the United States has a much greater ability to control the things that we're talking about than we do. For example, education for all. It is difficult for the Virgin Islands to say we're going to make sure that every student in the Virgin Islands gets educated as they want, to the level that they're able and the level that they want to go, and we're going to make sure that we pay for it. It's difficult for the Virgin Islands to say that because the Virgin Islands does not have control of the currency. We do not control the money.
Right.
The money that we use is American money. It's the United States dollars. The United States dollars are controlled by the United States government. Why do you think it's possible for the United States government to go 30, 40, 50 trillion dollars in debt? You know what $1 trillion is?
It's unimaginable.
It's hard to imagine what $1 trillion is. Okay? So when you think of the fact that the United States government can go 30, 50 trillion dollars in debt, it's because, and most people don't quite understand it. One of the people that do understand it is Mr. Mosler, because he has this monetary theory that he has put out, and he's correct. He's right. Now, one of these things, this money that the United States created, they can use it in the right manner. The United States right now uses all the money they want to blow people up, to do whatever they want to do. Sometimes it's not the right thing, but you never hear that there's not enough money to make a new bomb, do you? Because there is always enough money when you have control of the currency. Mm-hmm. And the United States always has enough money to do whatever we need to do because we have control of the currency.
It definitely won't be feasible at this point for us to seek independence from the United States, which I don't believe, that's just my belief. Most people, I believe, like the status quo. I don't see no uproar, let's change things. I don't see no movement by any political organization.
Right. We are people who are very much influenced by the status of our bread and butter, right? I mean, let's be straight up.
I don't. Can you imagine if the United States said, we're not sending you no FEMA, you're not getting no Social Security, Section 8, SNAP.
We're very influenced by our bread and butter. So what I'm saying is that the United States government, and I'm not an advocate for independence either from the United States, because I don't believe that the world should be going in the direction of having more and more independent countries. I believe that we should be going in the direction of being more and more together. And so the people of the United States, the problem I have with the United States is not that there's something that I don't want to be a part of. The problem I have is that we are not equal members, and I want us to be able to get our equal rights and responsibilities within the United States government.
Well, I support that, but what's on the table now is not political status. What's on the table now is us getting a constitution approved by Congress and ratified by the people. That's what's on the table. I know some people argue, well, political status should be dealt with first, but the reality is this is on the table now.
It is on the table now, but my position is that I do not want to submit a constitution as from a position of inferiority.
Okay.
And inferiority is where we are right now. If we have to write a constitution, send it to people in the United States who we don't vote for, and ask them to approve our constitution, I got a problem with that as a matter of principle. I just cannot accept it. I cannot accept being less than you. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I don't accept it either.
I cannot accept that you're going to call me a boy and you're a man. It's unacceptable, and I will not do it.
Well, as a matter of fact, as a matter of fact, one of the questions I asked for membership into the group Virgin Islands Affairs Forum is this: should all Americans be treated equal? And why or why not? So that's why, but most people skip the question. I still accept them into the group. But let me ask you this question. We're running out of time, and I really want to get to the first question. But do you consider yourself an American?
I consider myself a United States citizen.
Okay.
I do not consider myself to be treated equally. And I think that is where the problem is. I feel like we, the people of the Virgin Islands, need to be treated equally. That means that when it's time to vote for the President of the United States, I want my vote.
Well, I agree with you.
When in the Congress of the United States, I want my representatives to have a vote, just like every other person's representative. I want my representatives to be equal to the other people's representatives. And when it comes to the United States Senate, I need a senator. We do not even have a member in the United States Senate.
A voting member of Congress.
We are treated like children. I keep saying it over and over. We are treated like
because of our political status and unincorporated territory. So I hear you.
And so we need to be incorporated, and we need to.
I get your point.
Our equal representation, and I am not willing to submit a constitution for the Virgin Islands until I make sure that we are totally included in the United States Constitution. And the United States Constitution is something that I think is a very good constitution. The United States Declaration of Independence, you asked about equality. The first thing it says is that all men are created equal. Okay? And that, to me, is the principle that we should live towards, that we are supposed to be striving for. All men are created equal, endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights.
I agree with you on that, but quickly we're gonna be wrapping up. But I want you, and you kind of answer the first question, but I'm gonna say the first question now. What role are you serving in our community, and what ideas could you offer to enhance Virgin Islands pride, enrich Virgin Islands history, and promote culture and heritage, and make the Virgin Islands of the United States a better place? You pretty much addressed it, but could you give a quick...
On my personal, okay, let's go into my personal level, because you're asking pretty much what am I doing on a daily basis kind of thing.
Yes.
And yes, as you know, my profession is engineering. And for the last few years, I've been doing engineering consulting. And so I consult for various clients. However, one of my main projects that I'm working on is renewable energy. And so as we work towards renewable energy, I see that the situation has come to the point now where the cheapest energy right now, by my analysis, is actually solar energy. And so I don't see why we are still running all these engines when we can do this with solar. The issue with solar energy has always been that the sun only shines for so many hours a day, right? And then you got all these hours of darkness.
Right.
However, we have now, the technology has now developed to the point where there is storage systems that can handle this issue. So we can now go to 100% solar energy in this territory. And it can be done. I mean, there's a lot of...
It can be done, and that's one of the goals the governor had. The present governor, remember he said that about solarizing to at least 90% in territory.
Yes, you should. They put up a lot of solar panels so far. We got a lot of solar panels up, but we do not have the... And so without the storage system, they're going to always be running those machines that are going to be inefficient. And so we're going to need to go to the system that actually can shut the machines off. And that's what I'm working on right now in my professional capacity.
Well, I have a proposal for you. I would like to interview you and then have that interview be placed on Virgin Islands Affairs Forum. So we can talk about that another time, how we could connect, and you could do a series of on-site where you could actually show some of the things that you are doing. I mean, people are visual. We in the digital era. People, I consider myself, I self-appointed as 21st century digital historian of the U.S. Virgin Islands. So I like doing things like that. I like to actually be on site. I like to see the farms. I like to see the solar, the regular farms and the solar farms. And so I like to be on site where you could explain and have that visual of what, yes. So you could elaborate on that question about your role, because I think we need everybody to be part of this conversation. I think all of us should be treated this in with equal love, respect, and dignity here in the Virgin Islands of the United States, whether you're born here or you choose to make the Virgin Islands of the United States your domicile, your permanent residence. Because I think all of us want to, well, maybe not all, most of us would like to see a better Virgin Islands, but we have different ideas, proposals, and approaches.
We have different ideas, and by bringing our ideas to the same forum, we can shake out and determine which idea is the best suitable for our situation. So
yes,
we need to continue to talk. We need to continue to share our ideas, and we need to take action to make things happen. What we are doing, and my last word to the people is that we need to make sure that we put the people in office that are willing to do the bold new things that is going to take.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Change.
But remember, so the masses.
The situation of continuously putting the same people back in office who are funded by the same special interests and having the same results. You know, like they say about what this is, like the colloquial definition of
insanity, doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different result is insanity.
Yes. Okay. That's what's been happening in our society, and it's time for us to change that. And that's why I am a candidate for governor of the Virgin Islands.
Well, I'm happy that you were able to call in. I really appreciate it. It was very enlightening. You have a lot of knowledge to share. And again, once again, I invite you and others to join Virgin Islands Affairs Forum. And with that, thanks, blessings.
Thank you very much, Burdell. Thank you very much to the listening audience for tuning in.
Thank you. Okay, so you heard the called in guest, and anyone else who wishes to join Virgin Islands Affairs Forum is welcome to do so. It is giving you an opportunity to virtually immerse yourself into the political, historical, educational, cultural, and social affairs of the Virgin Islands of the United States, which is the official title based on the document, an official document that is governing us, known as the Revised Organic Act of 1954. And in that, we are classified as an unincorporated territory of the United States. Some people say it's a colony. Well, according to the document, it's a territory. What's the distinction between a colony and a territory? You can go research that for yourself. That's another topic we could discuss at another time. But according to the Revised Organic Act of 1954, the U.S. Virgin Islands official title is the Virgin Islands of the United States, and it's classified as an unincorporated territory of the United States. We do not have our own currency. We don't have our own sovereignty. U.S. citizenship was granted to the inhabitants of these islands in 1927, a decade after the purchase was finalized and the sovereignty was transferred from Danish to the United States. The United States purchased the Danish West Indies for $25 million in gold. And at the time, that included the three islands, St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John. Later on in 1944, the United States purchased Water Island from Denmark. I don't know how much it cost, but there you have it. You have four main islands that make up the U.S. Virgin Islands. The largest is St. Croix, 84 square miles. Then St. Thomas, 32 square miles. I believe St. John, 27 square miles. Facts can be verified. If I say anything inaccurate, you're welcome to correct me. I welcome education, edification, and correction. Because knowledge is power. We can all learn from each other. Facts can be verified. Everybody's entitled to an opinion, a view, perspective, a theory, but you're not entitled to your own facts. Now, maybe I could elaborate a little bit again with this prosperity farm matter, this controversy. My understanding is not a rum distillery. We have two rum distilleries on the island of St. Croix. We have Crucian Rum Distillery and we have Diageo Rum Distillery. So that's my understanding. A distillery could also distill spirits. Spirits are not, a spirit is not the same as rum. So you could get into the technicality of that. But again, with this VI code, this is from the article, the opinion written by Olasi Davis, PhD. The Virgin Islands Code, Title 29, Chapter 3, Section 228 permits agricultural processing as a right in both A1 and A2 agricultural zones. Distillation, on the other hand, is an expression named as a form of agricultural processing in code. Rum distillation is disallowed on farm land in the Virgin Islands. Nevertheless, at my UBI office, I had several meetings with APFEL, along with former Senator Oakland Benta, my colleague, Dr. Amy Jew, and Dr. Usman Adams, Dean of the School of Agriculture at the University of the Virgin Islands. I encourage Apfel, that's Robert Apfel, that's the owner for the Prosperity Farm Distillery, not to give up on his farm operation. Believe me, if you started off on the wrong foot, you will probably get backlash from the community. Trust me, Virgin Islands are loving, kind, and friendly people. In our cultural history, we welcome people with open arms from around the world to our shores. However, if you try to get over the people, as we would say in local terms, or pull a sheet over their heads, then there will be a good trouble, according to the late U.S. Congressman and civic rights icon John Lewis. Nevertheless, I said to him, you must be upfront and honest with the community. Trust is an important ingredient in doing business in the Virgin Islands. There was a time in our history when a handshake was all you needed to do business. I gave Upfell some ideas for his farm and the history of the site. I wanted him to succeed in agricultural enterprise. Without a doubt, agriculture should be an important factor in our local economy. In fact, Apfel is blessed. He purchased an agricultural historic site. Talking about agri-tourism, estate prosperity is one of the many historic sites on St. Croix. It's listed in the Natural Register of Historic Places since 1978. Prosperity, estate prosperity, founded in 1749 as a sugar plantation and rum distillery, has been operated on by prominent figures in Virgin Islands history. And it goes on to give more historic information and who's been the owners in the past. It went through several ownership. And let's skip to in 2018, Apfel acquired a property growing over 101 acres in cane cultivation. He's using the latest modern technology in agriculture, such as AI, artificial intelligence, drones, satellite, etc. A geographic information system, GIS, is another tool for data integration and planning the farm. Today, this 100 plus acre farm is becoming a major ecotourism enterprise with state of the art technology and tours of a major historic site on the west end of St. Croix. Cruise ship passengers and local events can take farm tours to see how cane juice is made, visit historic sites on the estate, and get a ride through the cane field, etc. I am glad Apfel didn't get discouraged and leave St. Croix. Well, let me add this part. He might get discouraged. I don't. We'll see what happens to the legislative hearing on Thursday, because there is opposition to Prosperity Farm distillery operating He has several employees working on his farm, earning good wages. I was told from one of the workers. I encourage residents and visitors alike to visit the working farm. You can visit the website for more information. If one of the farms that brings the history of the sugar industry alive in the Caribbean, for one, okay, it is one of the farms that brings the history of the sugar industry alive in the Caribbean. Well, I don't think they're producing sugar, but sugar comes from sugar cane. My understanding is spirits are being produced. Spirits are not the same as rums. So we will see what happens at that Thursday legislative hearing. And this matter is controversial, but it all again ties in to our history, our culture, and our heritage, because sugar was once king, and particularly St. Croix, which was once part of the Danish West Indies, produced a lot of sugar, produced rum and molasses, and made Denmark one of the richest European nation. So it's all tied in. We have to know the history. Again, anybody have ideas how we can enhance Virgin Islands pride? If you're interested in being a guest on the show, you can get in touch with me at 340-513-0228 if you wish to be a guest. And I will ask the same questions to all my guests. Those are the same prepared questions. Everybody's going to have the same exact questions that are spontaneous, because it all depends on what you're doing in your role, whether as a private citizen, a community activist, a public official, an elected official. What are you doing in your role to enhance Virgin Islands pride, enrich our history, promote our culture and heritage, and in general, what are you doing to make the Virgin Islands of the United States a better place? Because I believe most of us would like to see a better Virgin Islands. And maybe you have ideas that original, nobody else have thought about. So I'm interested in hearing all different points of views on this issue. The third question, as the guest mentioned, he would prefer to address the issue of political status first before we get a constitution. And I mentioned that we do have a de facto constitution known as the Revised Organic Act of 1954, and that will continue to govern us until it's replaced by one approved by Congress and ratified by the people, as long as we're an incorporated territory. So, is that going to happen? Are we going to get a constitution before we determine our political status? Well, by law, it's already established. There's a sixth constitutional convention, and all those who are serving as delegates, I'm assuming that they've been working and drafting this document. So we'll see what happens. So once again, thank you for joining me.
I just got you on my phone.
And this beautiful Tuesday, February 17, 2026. I look forward to us coming again. Next show, again, the matter with Prosperity Farm Distillery. There is a legislative meeting on Thursday. And thanks. Live, listen, learn, love, and levitate.